Hi, I'm Scott Jacoby, and welcome back to our video series on how to have a vision for a mix and how that can have a practical effect on various things that you're changing in a mix. And we're applying that to concepts of balance, tone, and space. What does having a vision mean? Having a vision means that you have a conception of your mix. Before you do anything, before you twist a knob, before you lift a fader, you have a sense of what this is going to sound like. You have a sense of what the mix is going to make you feel like. In having that, it takes the millions of choices that you have, or the infinite amount of choices, and focuses those so that you can just get to the meat of what you're trying to do, because you're trying to achieve a vision. When you know what that vision is, the pathway there is clear. So we've taken a look at balance, and now we're going to focus on tone and see how tone can shape your overall mix and be in accordance with your vision. I want to take a look at 4 different examples here. We're going to look at kick, snare drum, bass, and a set of background vocals, and I'll show you how I shape tone in these areas to achieve our overall vision. So let's take a listen to the first chorus of this song, and then after that we're going to listen to the differences between that and the final mix.
So why, when it hurts sometimes, can I not give it up? Is it just my luck? Why, when I try to close the door, do I leave it locked? What am I hiding for?
So now let's listen to that same section in the final mix. Pay particular attention to the sense of tone and what changes and how this feels different than the rough mix.
So why, when it hurts sometimes, can I not give it up? Is it just my luck? And why, when I try to close the door, do I leave it locked? What am I hiding for?
So can you hear how some of those things that we talked about in the vision are in that mix there, that sense of a pillow base for the whole song, a bed, and then the vocal in the clouds and the delays and the ambience and the spread of the whole thing, and how we use that tone of the snare drum, the tone of the kick drum, the tone of the bass to really emphasize all these different aspects which contribute to the whole. That's what the mix process is all about. So if we take a look at the kick drum, you can see that there's 3 signals. We've got kick in, kick out, and then a kick sample. And my goal for the vision in this thing, I wanted the kick drum to sound like a pillow. I wanted to hear the room. I didn't want it to be tremendously impactful. I wanted it to have a lot of tone. And so this was the initial sound that we were working with. Which I'd say is a really nice, roomy kick drum sound. And I use this technique of parallel processing where you have these 3 sound sources going to 3 different auxes, and I'm treating them in different ways to really sort of split up the function of the kick drum and to give me maximum flexibility in shaping the tone. So this is what I did on the first one. So that one is about the impact of the kick. There's a slight gate on it, so you're not getting the snare as much, and you're getting more of a beater noise and a chesty impact of the kick. Let's listen to the second one. That one I would say is the exact opposite. There's really very little chest in it, and it's all about the room. The compressor is eating up a lot of the energy of the kick, but you're getting a lot of the aftermath and the length of it and the tone and the room. And then the last one, we're using the Waves Neve plugin here with one of my favorite settings and then tweaked a little bit. We're boosting a lot of really low bottom, 33 Hertz, and then there's a high pass at 47, which creates a really nice curve and to me gives that sense of pillow. Let's listen to that one by itself. You get the roundth of the kick drum in that one, and when you put them all together, it sounds like this. So while it may seem complicated, the idea of having those 3, the kick drum broken up into 3 parts is that instead of just saying, I want to raise the kick drum volume, maybe it's really that you just want more attack, or maybe it's that you want more sub, and this gives you the flexibility to do that, and it's the ultimate tone shaping tool. So similar techniques involved in the snare drum. Let's take a look and let's first listen to the raw snare drum. So we've got our snare top and our snare bottom, and this is the raw snare drum. Again, really nice natural tone to work with, and once again, being bussed to 3 different auxes where they're treated differently. So on this one, we've got sort of a dead and tighter snare. On this one, we have essentially the opposite, which is a very long snare and a brighter snare and kind of snappy. And then I think is the most prominent one in the mix is this one, again through a Neve Waves plugin, where I'm boosting 100 hertz to really get that low end punch of the snare. And so when you put the 3 of these things together, you get this snare where the tone, first of all, you have tone in the snare drum, you have an aftermath, and you also have attack, and you have the ability to regulate each of these things in the context of the mix. So let's head over to another element of the mix, which is very important. It's the bass tone. And in this, there's 2 source signals. We've got the DI from the bass and the bass amp. And those are going to 2 auxes. One is going through hardware, and one is going through the Waves amp modeler. The reason I chose the amp modeler is because I wanted something that fed into the arc of the song, meaning that the arc starts very intimately with just the vocal and the keyboard at the beginning, and at the end it's gigantic. And I wanted the bass tone to get more riled up as the song went along. So if we listen here at the beginning, it's quite soft and has that Motown little hump to it. Really clean and nice and pure. And if we get to later on the song, you'll hear it start to growl ever so slightly. And the tone starts to break up a little bit. So that's, an idea of not just sort of shaping tone, but having tone shape throughout the whole song to add to the overall feeling and the arc of the song. The last thing I want to look at is one set of background vocals, which are right here. I'm going to solo those through the processing. And what I have those going through is a hardware EQ, the massive passive, which is adding a lot of 12K and the super high end. But really the most important part of this is the metaflanger, which is giving the vision of the background vocals for this song was to have them sound like they were heaviness. We've got this pillow, and then we've got the cloud aspect. And I wanted the airiness to come out in those background vocals, and that's why I boosted 12K. And then to kind of give a little bit of a swirl and dimensionality, we're using metaflanger at just a 10% mix, but the widest possible spread and a little bit of a flanging effect. Let's take a listen. And without that, you lose a little bit of that airiness. So we've taken a look at these examples of kick drum, snare drum, bass guitar, background vocals, and how the tone of each of these things can contribute to your vision for the overall mix. These pillowy drums and a bed of niceness, and then clouds and your vocals up there and being in heaven. That's the idea. That all comes from the vision. So we've just looked at tone, and before that balance, next we're going to get into space and see how that has an effect on your overall vision.